Well, it is the very first game of the very first day of MSI with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I'm joined right now by Fudge after their loss to Damwon Gaming. So, Fudge, look, tough game, I know, but there's a lot of people on Twitter, including LS, a pal of yours, who says that it's not that bad. That was a pretty close game for the majority of it. I'm kind of curious. What's your take? What do you think of that game?
Um, I agree that we were in a good position for sure in mid game. I think that they misplayed quite a bit actually in like some of the fights, and they could have survived some of the fights. They could have like not died a lot of times. I think that for me specifically, I think I could have punished lane a bit more, and I could have. Their Nah got a lot of timings to like invade my jungler. Not sure. I haven't watched the game back yet, but it felt like maybe I could have done more in that game in terms of early game. But yeah, I agree. We're in a pretty good position. It's also versus Damwon, so they're really good players. So I'm not like too disappointed, but I think I made a couple mistakes in mid game and led to bad fights, and then they were able to like get a pretty big lead from it and got a lot of control of the map, and that's sort of what won them the game.
Well, I'm kind of curious. You said they're Damwon, they're good players. You had to face off against Khan, who is many people's top ranked top laner for this event. What was it like facing him?
I think he's pretty good for sure. Definitely better than like a lot of the competition I'm used to. Um, he, I think generally the biggest difference between like Chinese and Korean top laners compared to like North American or European top laners is that mechanically they play the trades a lot better, and I think that he spaced a lot better in like these sort of matchups where spacing is really important uh, than most of the people that I'm used to versing, and I think that I misplayed quite a bit in terms of in laning phase because I'm not really used to versing good players. So yeah, I'd say he's definitely probably the best top laner right now at MSI.
What kind of broadening out from this game? What has been your experience at MSI and facing these different players? Because obviously you've been in LCS for a while, competing against those folks. What is it like facing all these different players that you've been scrimming against with in the MSI pool?
Um, I think it's really nice just playing against players that challenge you a bit more. Uh, I do. It's not like I'm like stomping NA or anything, but playing against like the worldwide, like really good, like the best teams of all the regions is definitely a lot better of an experience in terms of like being able to learn a lot more from the different matchups, being forced to play a lot better uh, in lane and making just more like decisions with taking into account more variables. Um, so I really like it. Obviously, playing internationally is like a really huge privilege that I'm not like taking for granted or anything. So I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah. What has the travel been like and all that stuff getting over to Iceland? And then I know there was like a kind of brief quarantine, but this is the first time we're really having a chance to talk. So I'm kind of curious what this whole experience has been like, just getting to the event.
Um, the travel is really nice, right? Like shuttles you from airport to airport, so it's really easy. The flights were obviously really nice as well. I think we went on like KLM Dutch Airlines to Amsterdam, and then we went from Amsterdam to Reykjavik. And I think that the flights were really nice. Were like really easy, fast, and then we got to the hotel, and it was like about a week quarantine. But we were able to go to our own practice rooms to practice together, so it was pretty easy to like get through quarantine because it wasn't really quarantine. Well, that's not what it felt like at least.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I had to ask because I remember at Worlds people were like going kind of crazy beforehand, and it had perhaps an adverse effect. So I'm glad to hear that it sounds like not really much of a big deal for you guys going into this. Getting back to the event specifically, we had a caller this week on Hotline League who proposed that if he was the Cloud9 coach, they would just almost entirely focus on the two other teams in your group, not Damwon, because like, hey, let's just focus on taking these guys out. We know we can take them, and then we can get out of groups. So I don't know what's been the philosophy behind the scenes. Have you guys been mostly focusing for Damwon? Is it pretty even? Obviously, I know it's not just like a linear thing where it's like you spend X amount of hours on each team, but how have you been looking at the other teams in your group?
Um, I think that we've been focusing more on Damwon just because we think they're the best team, and beating the best team is the most important thing. Uh, Obviously, it's not like just because you focus on Damwon doesn't mean you can't focus on the other teams.
Right.
We've obviously been like I'm obviously like preparing, and I've watched their games before, and I don't think like I don't think having the mentality that, oh, we're already going to lose to Damwon, so just like don't even care about them and just focus on the other teams is like a very good mentality to have. So I don't really think that it's a good idea to just ignore Damwon. Just think of the other teams in the group, and then you'll get it out of groups and then lose in semis or in the second round.
Do you think that Damwon is the best team at the event?
Yeah, for sure. I think Damwon is, well, actually, I think RNG could definitely contest them. I think that Damwon today actually weren't playing actually that well. I think that uh, it's very possible that if we played like 5 more games of that exact same position before I like died twice in a row in mid game, I think it's very possible that we win a lot of those games. So if RNG, for example, or EU, or even us play them again, I think it's very possible that we can win. And I don't think they're unbeatable. And I definitely think that when they had like last year's Damwon isn't necessarily like this. I feel like this year's Damwon might be a bit worse. It's very possible.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some analysts comment on that as well. So it seems like you might not be alone in that thought. Now, other than that, I mean, are there any teams that have been surprising you or that you think might upset? Because obviously, like, we have all these teams. Everyone's going to focus on the 4 major regions. But I'm curious if there are any other teams or regions that are really standing out to you.
We scrimmed against PSG Town, and they were actually pretty good. I think that it's very likely that they're actually just as strong as, or they can take games off of the other regions. So I think PSG Talent is definitely a team that people can be excited to watch, because I think they're also very like aggressive and they punish mistakes very well. So PSG Talent for sure, if I had to pick a different team other than the major regions.
Any thoughts on Mad Lions? I don't know if you have any insight on them.
I think Mad Lions is good, but I still think that RNG and Damwon are for sure better. I think that's the laners are just all individually weaker compared to the Asian teams.
Yeah. How is Perkz helping the team? I mean, obviously you have a lot of veterans, but this is a guy who I think has had more success than anybody else on the team internationally. So I don't know if there's a thing where, like, especially you, hey, I know you've been to Worlds before. This ain't your first international event, but Perkz maybe a couple more times. So I don't know if he like comes in and gives you like a pep talk beforehand, or if you guys are just all kind of like in the zone. It's not really anything where he's like captaining the team.
I wouldn't say there's like a pep talk or anything. I think that generally Perkz's words just carry more weight than the other players in the team, and I think that's just because generally everyone in the team respects him a lot. So whatever he says is generally more listened to. I think that he hasn't like given a pep talk or anything. It's not like he's like, yeah, guys, I've done this before. I beat Damwon. We can win against them. You know, he's never said something like that. But whenever we like lose, or like even in scrims, if we're losing, he's like, you know, like every team loses these sort of games, or like every team like plays bad like this, and it's more about like how you play on stage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten to like review the game that we played today, but I'm sure that he'll say something that will like lift everyone's mood. So
Well, it seems like you're in an okay state right now, so hopefully you're able to maintain that. Anything you want to say to any of the NA fans out there who are cheering you on from early hours on the West Coast?
Yeah, it's really early though. I mean, thanks to all the people that cheering for C9 to like play well at MSI. I'm sorry that we lost the first game, but based on how the game went, I think it's very possible that we can beat them if we play them again. So I look forward to the next match against Damwon, and I look forward to also beating the other 2 teams in the group. And yeah, thanks to everyone that's like staying up or maybe waking up really early to watch the games.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fudge, for the interview. Best of luck at MSI. Looking forward to your next game tomorrow. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things MSI right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching that interview. You know, May 11th is a crazy day. You look at the MSI schedule, you're like, there's so much going on that day. I can't believe it. It's going to be mind-blowing. No, it's actually not that crazy for MSI reasons. It's crazy because on May 11th, Alienware is announcing something really cool. So be sure to stay tuned to their social channels so that you find out what it is that they're announcing. because I can't tell you. I'm literally legally not allowed to tell you. So don't try to get me to tell you, because I cannot. Certainly not in an outro of an interview. Also, subscribe to the channel, please, because I lost some subscribers recently, and I lost a lot of self-respect too.